You wanted the beef? Here's the beef.
If you've been on social media and are into the UK car scene over the last couple of days, you may have heard of a recent piece of drama that's been kicking off regarding a rusty BMW E28, a small independent garage, a non-reputable independent garage, down in Cambridgeshire, and one of the faces of the UK's largest YouTube car channels out there. So if you want to find a little bit more about the controversy that's surrounding Taylor Hetherington, Josh Gresswell and Taylor's BMW E28, hang around and we'll go over some of the details that have been brought to light over the last couple of days. To give you a little bit of backstory, if you haven't already seen it, I would definitely recommend going and watching Josh's video. He outlined his response to something that Taylor had said during one of the Auto Alex V2 podcasts and why Josh decided to make his response video. I'll play the clip. I'll just play the clip so that you can see what was said about Josh.
But I thought it was fixed.
No.
I thought it was getting welded for about a year.
No, it was supposed to, and then just sort of got let down with it, really. Company that it was at was not particularly reputable because the work was shit. But no, I sort of got a bit done over with that. But
Taylor slagged them off. And quite rightfully, Josh didn't agree.
It's okay, I'm going to clear things up for you today and actually tell what actually happened, tell the truth to everyone, just so we don't have any lies being spread about me.
Taylor had put his car in. They had come to an agreement back in December of 2023 in that Josh was going to do some light work for Taylor on his BMW E28. And in return, Taylor said, we'll pay you, but how about we collaborate on this? How about we do some videos together? And Josh was like, great, yeah, that could be a fantastic thing for my YouTube channel. Being affiliated with you guys and getting to work with you guys is potentially going to be a massive, or bring massive value to my channel. So yeah, why not? Why not go for that? So
Taylor messaged me, like, I've got an idea for you, YouTube collaboration. We can come together on it. I've got an E28 and you could do some welding on it for me. Would you mind doing it in exchange for some content purposes, basically?
Josh introduced a caveat saying that as long as the rust isn't too bad. And Taylor assured him, don't worry, there's only some areas on the sills and some area on the battery panel that will need to be replaced. However, I will now let Josh run through the list of things that he had to replace on that car.
When I got digging into it, that car was loads worse than I thought, and it was absolutely needing a restoration. I've had to strip the interior, I've had to drop the subframe, I've had to repair the inner subframe mounts, the outer subframe mounts, the back edges of both of the rear sills. I then had to do the entirety of the inner sill on the driver's side. I had to do the floor pan edges, I've done the outer sill, I've done the inner jacking points front and rear, had to fabricate all of those bits, done all the precautions, done all the sealing, everything properly. Now suddenly this deal isn't actually what it seems to be, and it's gonna take months to get this car finished properly. If you wanna do it to a good standard, it's gonna take a lot of time.
As you can see there, the work was far more substantial than either him or Taylor had ever thought when they first took on this deal. So Josh keeps in contact with Taylor, lets him know the situation, advises him that, hey, I'm finding more and more problems with this car, and if I was to do this on the books, which I'm not going to, Josh held up his side of the bargain and said, hey, let's still work on that agreement here. If I was to do this on the books, this is anywhere between 5 to 7, possibly even £8,000 worth of restorative work that needs to be done to this car. And Taylor was like, oh, I don't have that kind of money. And Josh said, don't worry about it.
I said, I can't give you a set price in mind because I still don't know the full extent of the rust. Like, I can see a lot already, and there is definitely some rust hiding. I said, I won't really know what the whole price will entail until I've got like at least one side done. So then I can like basically guess what the other side's gonna look like. And he said, yeah, that's fine. Just let me know. I said, don't worry, it's not gonna be anywhere near £5,000 to £7,000. That's how much real rust repair costs.
He says to Taylor, what we'll do is I'll do half of the car, and that'll give me an idea of what work and how much cost it's going to cost to then get the rest of the other half done. So Taylor's like, yeah, great, mate. Loving the work so far. Thanks for keeping me in the loop.
I've worked out my hours, which was roughly around 60 hours, and say I take 10 hours off because I was filming it. 50 hours, right? 50 hours times 50, £2,500, right? That bill, 1,600 quid now, and then 1,600 quid at the end. Bearing in mind, there's a lot more other repairs that still need to be done throughout the car.
It looks like Josh has been trying to do Taylor a favour. He gives him this value of £1,600 to basically cover the work that he has done thus far, and the remaining work would cost probably about the same as that. So ultimately, he's looking at about £3,200 to complete the car, which is a far cry from what he would be if he was getting standard rates for this type of job.
An entire week goes by, he finally replies. No, just so I'm clear, 1,600 quid to get the car finished. I said, yeah, 1,600 quid roughly to get the car finished, but I'd like to square up with what I've already done now, so then I can continue on and carry on working. To which he said, I thought that the first half of your work was going to be covered by content, and I had to relay it back to him, say, no, the deal was that I was going to do you a discounted rate on everything, just to honour what I initially said that I was going to be for free. And he says, well, I can't afford that. I'm going to have to give you the 1,600 quid and we're going to have to call it a day because I can't afford it. I've got too much stuff going on. I was like, all right, fair enough.
Now, I don't want to go into too much detail about what Josh alleges within his response, but Taylor had been going through some personal things, and it seems that he had got himself into a little bit of financial bother. I think he had been manipulated by somebody, which is never good for anybody. However, that doesn't excuse what then happens next. So Taylor's like, I can't afford that. I can't do that, mate. I'm going to have to pay you the 1,600 quid and we'll just call it quits there. So Josh is like, okay.
What do you actually want to do then? And then I asked him that multiple times in messages. He just ignores every message because he knows he's going to have to give up some of his money.
Weeks and months pass. Josh tries to reach out. He sends multiple texts to Taylor, and Taylor sporadically gets back in touch with him. And
oh, by the way, do you still have that airflow meter for that 635 Highline that you scrapped? So he's ignored me for an entire month, and then he's only replied to me because he wants something.
Taylor then gets back and says, hey, I see that you're selling a particular part for a 635. Would you mind, can I have it? And Josh is like, yeah, no bother at all. Tell you what, we'll wrap it into the existing deal and we can deal with it once we clear off the BMW. More time passes and eventually Josh starts chasing up Taylor, being like, hey, what's happening? What's going on with this car?
And then another month goes by. He messaged me and goes, look, I'm coming to get the E28. I feel like you've lost motivation on it and it's taking too long.
Taylor gets back in touch with him a few weeks later, basically saying, hey, I'm going to pick the car up. I feel like you've lost motivation. And Josh, quite rightfully so, is like, of course I have. You've been fobbing me off for months on end now.
No shit, Sherlock. I'm doing you a solid. You can't even be bothered to reply to my messages. You still owe me money. You've effectively stolen my parts at this rate. And your car's in my workshop being stored for free. Why would I drop everything and work on your car when you can't even do the bare minimum and even respond to a message to me?
And eventually they get into it. Josh lays it out, basically says, hey, your communication's been shit over the last wee while, and I want to know what's happening with the Beamer.
He said, look, I don't want to argue about it. I'll talk about this in person. And then it was then another month until he actually collected his car. Again, just kept ignoring me, being really awkward about picking the car up, made me turn up to the workshop in pitch black just to collect his car. And when he got here, he didn't say shit. Just really friendly, timid, didn't say a word, didn't want to argue about it. I was like, fair enough. When he turned up, he actually gave me £1,000 cash. And I was like, oh, sweet. So I was like, well, where's the rest of it then? So he's like, oh, I'll bank transfer you the rest when I get back, if that's all right. I was like, cool, no worries. I'll send him his details. Nothing. Just ignores it. And then tells me that the ECU was broken, but that's whatever because it was untested. I'm not going to keep chasing this guy. He just never replies to my messages and just ignores me. He doesn't want to pay me the money anyway, so.
Regardless of your personal situation that you're going through, you should always, if running a business or trying to deal with clients or whatever, you should always at least take the time to go through the process of keeping in communication. Taylor has now sent the car up north and has got the welding done work there. And during that clip that I showed you, the three of them, Alex, Rory and Taylor, sitting down and talking about the situation, they make fun of how slow Josh essentially was, that the car had been over there for over a year, and how this new guy that they've brought in was able to do it in a week. if you look at the images that Josh has shared across his channel, and I'll put them up for you just now, if you compare them to the work that he has displayed within his playlist, you can see exactly why it's taken a week. You can see exactly why it's a cheap job.
Now, deals don't always go your way. That's fine, that's life, you get on with it and you move on. But going public on a podcast and completely lying about them and potentially ruining the reputation of their business is really not cool, because, you know, that never ends well, especially when that person has not actually done you wrong and they've been nothing but lenient throughout your dealings with them.
You'll find that this has now had a fairly large impact on Otto Alex and the channel, because Otto Alex and Rory are also called out for certain things within the video as well. It looks like they've immediately taken Taylor's side. And I can see that Taylor's maybe skewed the perspective that he's told them. He's only told them on one side of that particular story, and they've maybe got on board with a friend and showed support to them. However, it sounds like they have not really taken on board that their words and how they have dealt with this could potentially have wider ramifications on individuals. One point Josh makes is that they are advocates for mental health, yet they are potentially going out and making outlandish claims that this individual's work is shit, and not really considering the impact that that might have had on Josh. So
They're big advocates for men's mental health and mental health in general, because they say it all the time. It's almost like spreading misinformation to the masses could potentially affect my mental health.
Taylor has now acknowledged that, and I'll get onto that in just a moment. It's still potentially just a little bit too late. I think Josh's response was a good thing to do. I think him coming in and ultimately calling Taylor out for his frankly incorrect statements is the right thing to do, because ultimately it could have had a massive impact on Josh and his channel and his potential livelihood. However, I do think that Josh should have been a little bit more careful in the potentially unsubstantiated claims that he's made towards the end of his video.
Because Taylor's past is very shady and he's only recently got the leg up from Alex, and no matter what you do now, all of your past still exists. Now, there's a lot of things that I could actually say right now about Taylor's history. But
whilst there may be anecdotal evidence of Taylor having potentially less than stellar experiences with other individuals, I would be very careful about stating that kind of stuff so publicly, because ultimately you are potentially going to get yourself into a bigger hole than you may have been in already. Before I get on any further, I have to preface this video with, this is all alleged. I am going by what I have seen in the videos that Josh has released and some of the other things that are coming out of the woodwork since this story has broken. So guys, in conclusion, what do you think is going to happen next? We've received apologies from Taylor. We've received a response from Josh. Will we get a video in the coming days? What side of the fence do you sit on? Where do you think things could have been done better? If you've liked today's chat, like and subscribe, because we're going to have more coming up very shortly. Hopefully, we may even have a response to the response. So, all the best, guys. Thanks for joining. I'll see you shortly. Bye-bye.